Good evening, and welcome to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out what ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This will be a podcast in which we analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran only one season, including some that ran only one episode. For our first month, we will be exhuming the worst and weirdest of reality TV shows. What happened when you convinced 12 American girls that they are going to marry a prince? With me, as always, is TV's Noah Houlihan.
I would like to leave the estate.
What do you mean by that?
They just keep getting worse, these shows that we dig up. It's like there's a reason they only run one season, because they're not that enjoyable to consume.
For this week, we are covering the 2014 masterpiece, I Wanna Marry Harry.
I Want to Marry quotations Harry. Which ran on Fox and officially ran 4 episodes on broadcast, but was released on demand, so we did watch all 8. Right.
The premise of the show, this is our dating portion of the reality show month, and 12 American women are sent to London, to this beautiful Downton Abbey-esque estate, where they are set up with Sir, a mysterious red-haired man who may or may not be Prince Harry. Except he totally isn't.
Yes.
These 12 women have come to London, England, looking for true love. When they meet a real Prince Charming.
No! Our boyfriend's someone big. That's Prince Harry. No way. It can't be.
He's Prince Harry, and I know it.
This could be a true Cinderella story.
Oh my God, babe! Prince Harry is my ideal guy. He's charming. He's my dream guy.
Only in this fairy tale, it's the prince who's hiding a secret.
So where's all your family at Buckingham Palace?
You see, underneath all the trappings, he's not a prince at all. Just an ordinary boy who looks a lot like Prince Harry. Fourth in line to the throne. And we will go to extreme lengths.
Come now, what now, please?
His security is not for show, it's real.
To protect his true identity.
There is a picture of him and his brother. He looks a lot like William.
Oh my gosh.
Shut up.
I have to convince them I'm Prince Harry, but the goal is for them to like me for who I am. This is my chance to find a girl who I connect with. I quite like you.
I quite like you too.
But if it all blows up in my face, I'm going to be hugely cut up about lying to 12 women.
Over 8 weeks, the girls will fight for the affection of our fake prince.
Who do you guys think Prince Harry likes the most? We are competing for one guy. I'm ready for war.
Jesus, skanking and drunk. Ugh.
Each believing they could be a real princess.
This is the ultimate fairy tale.
This could not be more romantic.
It's a dream.
I've always loved this love story about this lucky girl who meets this amazing Prince Charming.
When he's chosen his one true love, he will reveal his shocking secret.
There's one more thing you should know.
Will she hate him for the lie?
If I was a normal guy, would it make a difference?
This sucks because I really like him.
Or love him for the man he is?
I am in this for the right reasons.
Can love survive when fame, wealth, and status falls away? Welcome to the fairy tale.
That's a horrible feeling to know that you were wrong all along.
That could become a nightmare.
This show is so bad. It's unsuccessful in every way. And I know I said that about Superstar USA, but this one especially is bad in every way. Because here's the thing. When I was editing Superstar USA, this episode, and I was taking clips out of context and putting them in the episode, I giggled at them. This show is not fun.
I mean, the first 4 episodes, this was a slog. Out of the ones we've watched, this is the first one that really, like... Superstar USA, I want to say we did everything in one night.
Close to.
Yeah, I think we watched, like, the finale. This took us a week.
Yeah, because we did not want to watch anymore. And the beginning of this show is them training this guy to know a bunch of stuff about Prince Harry so he can successfully pull off the ruse. And this will be the first of many times I compare this show to Joe Millionaire.
Right.
Because there is a scene in this show where Prince Harry, his name's Matt, his real name is Matt, where Matt is being trained to be Prince Harry, and they're going over which forks are used on which things, because he's proper and he would know these things.
If Matt is going to fool the 12 women into believing he's a prince, he must learn to master aristocratic etiquette.
So I've got this table laid out in front of you here. What does all this do? What are all these pieces of cutlery? Tell me.
There's a shot glass.
A what?
A shot glass? No?
That is exactly what they do in Joe Millionaire. They teach him how to use forks.
I found myself thinking of the movie Anastasia.
Okay.
The sequence with Learn to Do It.
Yes.
I was like, this could have really used a good musical number.
Yeah, yeah.
It also felt very, like, My Fair Lady-esque. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to see Kingsley. Kingsley is the butler, and he's really, like, the host of the show.
Right.
And he's sort of the major domo, butler, facilitator of everything in the show. And he, I wanted to see him, like, make a bet with a producer that he could make this random bicycle riding poor dude pass for Prince Harry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of how it felt. There's a great quote that I'm sure we'll insert here from the pilot.
But if it all blows up in my face, I'm going to be hugely cut up about lying to 12 women.
But, like, he says it very, like, cavalier, like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah. And that's a through line through this entire show is Matt feels bad about lying.
But
then
not bad
why
enough.
do it?
Like, he feels bad, but not bad enough to even, like, kind of hint that it's a lie. So it's set up, it is a dating show. The women are clearly aware they are on a Bachelor-esque show. Mm-hmm. They arrive in pairs. They don't know who they're competing to date.
It's a beautiful castle they're in.
Mm-hmm.
They're living the high life and they're loving it. And then a helicopter lands.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the things that really frightened me is one girl is 25. Mm-hmm. And another woman goes,
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Oh, good, we have another oldie.
Yay! Oh, everyone's younger?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah!
So they immediately set up that these girls are very young.
Yeah, they call 25 old, and later on they call 30 so old, which is very, like, unlikable.
Yeah, it's very jarring. A few of them tell us they're very smart.
Yes, and this is the first example of reality show editing I catch. Because there's a part where they're all introducing themselves, and I believe it's Kendra who says,
I'm pre-med, cell and molecular biology, the interest in ophthalmology.
Bitch.
and then someone else says, bitch, but you don't see who says it. And the reason you don't see who says it is nobody said bitch in that scene.
Right.
They took audio of someone saying bitch later on in the show and threw it in there in an attempt to create something interesting.
In my notes from the pilot, they do the reveal where a helicopter appears and it's a red-haired man, but they say that, like, they're not introducing him. Kingsley refers to him only as Sir.
Yes.
They're doing this subterfuge of they don't know who Sir is.
Now, this is one of the big conceits is for the longest time they don't say it's Prince Harry. They just say it's Sir.
But they don't give a real good reason for doing that. I think if we had some sort of context where it was like, the person you are dating cannot give away their identity right away for security reasons.
Right.
Then it would at least make more sense. Which, honestly, may have been said to them, but they don't show it.
Right. And I think the mystery would have been a little more compelling if they had tried to act like it wasn't Prince Harry, but then kept dropping all these, like, tried to be like, it's not Prince Harry. And then dropped all these hints that, like, well, what if it is?
And the thing is, they do that in that, like, during the mystery segment of the show, where, you know, they're not sure, all the information that they kind of find accidentally. Like, there's a scene where he goes on a date with someone, and a photographer catches them, and then security takes them away. They're like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Or the one girl gets left alone in Sir's room and sees a picture of Harry with his brother.
A poorly photoshopped picture.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, that's clearly Prince Harry. So they do that for, I think, all the episodes that air. The 4 episodes are all mysteries. And then when we come back to the 5th episode, maybe the 6th episode.
It's the 5th.
It is the 5th episode?
Yeah.
Kingsley finally just says, it is Prince Harry. And there's no good reason for them to do that.
Right.
To kind of give it away for no reason.
Which you're going to notice is a theme with this show of giving up any level of suspense.
Yes.
Yeah, there's 12 girls, and the way it works is at the end of every episode, he takes 2 girls aside.
Yes.
And has poorly edited, mock suspenseful conversations with each of them. Mm-hmm. And in one, he says, I'm going to have to ask. You to leave the estate.
No, it's always you two.
Commercial break.
And then it's either leave the estate or move into the master's suite.
Crown suite.
Or crown suite. And they do it the same way that on Cooks versus Cons. They're like, I am a con. Like, they just drag it out because no one speaks that way.
Right.
But, dear listener, what I need you to understand about the way that this is set up then. He takes 2 women aside.
Yeah.
One of them is going home, and one of them is his favorite. There's no suspense here. It's like, which one is he going to choose to go into the crown suite? The one he spent the day with and giggling, or the one we haven't seen him interact with?
And, like, the first girl to go home is, like, a tomboy.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the impression that she's sent home because she's not buying into the princess thing.
Yes.
And that's another theme of the show, is every time someone seems to see through or buy into, or does not buy into the premise, they are very quickly packed up and sent home.
Yes. And we'll go into that a little bit further, because the other theme is, if one of the girls who's not causing drama, not, doing anything interesting, suddenly has a confessional where they react to something, they're going home. Because we just want to remind you this person existed.
We lost one of the final 2 for 2 episodes.
Yes!
Spoilers. Karina makes the final 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this now because we'll probably never mention Karina again.
Yeah, because we don't see her throughout the show.
Because Karina does very little.
She does go on a date with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because each girl gets to go, everyone that stays in the crown suite then gets to go on a date with Sir the next day.
And gets some sort of privilege.
Yes.
Because they have to do the meanwhile. Like, at one point, the crown suite girl goes horseback riding with Harry,
mm-hmm.
and the rest of the girls muck out the stables.
Yes.
One girl, plays polo with him while the rest of the girls do boot camp?
Yeah, you're right.
I forget what Megan does while they're on.
I think they play tennis.
Yeah, they play a sport.
And I'll get back to boot camp a little bit later. But, for the episodes that air, the 4 episodes that air, nothing interesting happens in that there's no drama or fighting, really.
No.
There's one moment where I believe it is Megan says, and it's the only good part of the first 4 episodes, so they play it a lot.
Are you your head is launched so far up your ass. I could eat alphabet soup and something out that made more sense than what you're saying right now.
Which I was like, I don't believe somebody wrote that for her.
Yeah. My notes say, I took far fewer, like, this is the far fewest notes that I've taken for anything so far. And you can see that I'm trying in the pilot. My notes include, why doesn't Matt just strip for bachelorette parties? He could make bank being stripper Prince Harry.
True.
Like, they kind of play up how poor he is, and he's got, like, a noble job.
Yeah.
Like, he's, like, an environmental consultant. He, like, cleans up baby ducks and oil spills.
Yeah, like, he's a noble guy. Again, just like Joe Millionaire, who was a construction worker. They pretended to be, a millionaire.
I mean, they do try to build a fairy tale in a lot of ways. And, you can see where they try to do this, like, this Disney movie.
Yes. But we don't really see it for the first 4 episodes.
Yeah,
like I said, you don't get to know any of the girls enough to, like, cheer for any of them.
No.
And, like, the focus of the first 4 episodes is basically, I think this might really be Prince Harry. I think it might be.
Yeah, they play up, really the first one you get to know is Rose. And she's a preschool teacher who's very sexually forward.
Yes.
And, like, they kind of make that her entire character, and then she disappears for 3 episodes.
Yeah, she just vanishes.
And again, she's one of, I believe, the final 4.
Yes.
And she disappears from episode 3, 4, and 5, essentially. She's just not around.
Like, to put this into perspective, the second episode, there's a girl, and she's by the pool in a bikini, and they're like, wow, you have a great body. And then there's a talking head of her saying,
I'm Andrea Fox. I'm 25. I've competed in pageants for about 4 years now. Every pageant that I've competed in, I've gotten first runner-up.
And then we see nothing from her again. And then Matt takes her aside and eliminates her. And as she walks out, she says,
I've come first runner-up in every pageant I've competed in. So to be taken out so quickly is what's hard. It's really so emotional.
Yeah, she's reduced to that.
She's reduced to 8 words.
Yeah. But, like, they kind of play up Rose as being, like, this very sexually forward. She's very young. I think she's, like, 23. And you find out later she's been in one relationship for 7 years. And suddenly she becomes a much more understandable person of, like, oh, this is the first time since adolescence she's been single. She doesn't really, like, necessarily... She isn't, like... I'm trying to figure out how to word this. This is her first time courting as an adult.
Yes, exactly.
Like, if she's been in a relationship, let's say from... She said 7 years. So let's say from 14 to 21. She has never, like, been flirting as an adult. So she thinks that flirting like a teenager is how you flirt like an adult. Mm-hmm. And it makes her make sense, and it makes her a little more sympathetic than the first few episodes make her. And it makes her an actual, like, 3-dimensional person. And then she's pretty swiftly eliminated after that.
Also during this beginning part, to put into perspective how little is happening, is Megan, who will eventually rise as, like, a villain type character, is giving Matt these looks. And Matt refers to them as, like, naughty eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in every talking head, Megan talks about how she's eye-sexing him.
What?
It's like, yeah, we were just eye-sexing the whole time in the hot tub. And another time she says something like, you may look at him, but I'm the only one that eye-sex him.
What?
It's so boring that they tried to make the fact that two people make eye contact an interesting plot point in this show.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this show. I hate it.
Yeah, like, there's a molecular biologist, and that's literally, I'm really smart. I'm a molecular biologist. I'm going home in the 3rd episode, and that's all you ever find out about me. Like, we find out almost nothing about the first 3 girls who go home.
Yeah, because what? Like, there's no reason to invest in them.
Chelsea quits.
Yes, we have the one girl who...
The only woman of color.
The only woman of color who actually just goes, have you ever dated a black girl? And Matt goes, no, because I could never believe that Prince Harry dated a black girl.
Yeah, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, she doesn't care.
And yes, it's so she's like, I don't really dig this. I'm out of here. And that is, I believe, the same episode where someone starts saying,
I don't think this is
I don't
Harry.
think that's Prince Harry. He doesn't really even look like him that much.
Yeah, it's this is the same episode as the photoshopped picture. So this is when the lying amps up.
Yes.
And Annalisa starts to kind of like think that this is not totally on, and is pretty much immediately thrown out.
Yes, and Matt then says,
I didn't feel she was completely genuine.
Which is the dumbest thing. And like, so I know it's on purpose, but like, so dumb. It's just like, all you're doing is making me hate this guy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're going to get rid of this person for not being genuine, and you haven't even said your real name to them.
Yeah, and this is still when they're still lying. At this point, they're still not saying anything. They're still like kind of cloak and daggers about who he is. And they do a very bad job of making you care about Harry.
Yeah.
Like,
which, by the way, every time he does a talking head, his name is on screen as Matt, and his occupation is not really Prince Harry. Like, we're going to forget halfway through this show and be like, wait, is he really Prince Harry? So, for 4 episodes, it is unbearably boring.
Yeah, it's...
And then we move on to episode 5, the first episode that doesn't air on Fox.
Yeah, I mean, the first 4 episodes fall prey to the most dangerous 8 words in television.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens to these people.
Yeah. Not a care.
Like, I'm not invested in anybody. There might be a moment here or there where you kind of like somebody, but then you don't really follow them. Mm-hmm. They don't do a good job like Mad House established Kelly really quickly as a villain, so you at least negative attention is still attention.
Yeah.
You at least
you cared what happened to her because you wanted it to be awful.
Yeah, but like there was a character that you were for some reason invested in.
Yes.
In the first 4 episodes, you were not invested in anyone. The first episode, my last note is I hate everyone but Kingsley.
So
Kingsley has a very dry wit, and he kind of doesn't care, and that falls off as the story goes on. He stops kind of making fun of Harry and the women.
Yeah. And then we move on to episode 5, and there's a legit moment where I'm like, well, where has this show been? Because they open with a beauty pageant where they have to do a talent. And there is something very fun about, we have, I don't know how many women are left now, 7?
Yeah, something.
We have 7 women who are performing a talent show for someone they honestly believe is the Prince of Wales. What are you going to do? And one girl does CPR. One girl did stand-up. Like some version of stand-up guy. I don't remember what the joke was, but it wasn't very good. I want to say that someone did batons, but I don't think that's true.
Someone line dances.
Kelly line dances, which is the Southern Belle.
Yeah, she starts to emerge in this episode as being really likable, and you start to get a feud between Megan, who has emerged as kind of being an antagonist, and Kelly, who at this point in the show is coming off like a sweet Southern Belle. She does like a line dance.
Yes, and we forgot about this one moment, which is another great reality show editing moment, where Kelly does a backflip off a boat.
Yes.
And they add a sound effect of her head hitting the boat. And then, like, Harry gets worried and, like, jumps in to save her. But then they show the replay, and her head's not even close to the boat.
And, like, they can't even keep it straight, 'cause in the talking head, she's like, yeah, my head just missed the boat. Like,
it was so dumb.
But I didn't even write down their talents because they're not memorable.
No.
They were clearly told they couldn't sing.
Yes, because they didn't want to pay the rights to any songs.
And they're clearly not... The ones who dance are clearly not dancing to whatever we're hearing.
Yes.
I noticed that the drunk girl goes home. There's a drunk, because there's always a drunk.
Yes, they send the drunk home, and this is where we start to really... build the feud between Megan and Kelly.
Episode 6 is just about the feud.
Just about the feud. And what's very interesting is Kelly really, really likes Matt / Harry. Like, she's like, she's all in, and you can tell that she like really cares for him. Megan is in the Crown Suite. So, in this episode, Megan and Matt are together for 80% of it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they spend the day together. This is where they're playing tennis and stuff. Oh, and this is the boot camp, right?
Yes.
Side note before we get into this. One of the big things that they're trying to make it seem legitimate is they have these little surprises that happen where... like, because he's the Prince of Wales, stuff happens. So there's a moment where he's on a date, and security's like, sir, we have to leave right now. And they leave in a helicopter.
Right.
The photographer moment happens. There's a moment where he's on a date with someone else, and these girls are like, oh my god, it's Prince Harry. And, like, scream and wave and say that they love Prince Harry. So they have all these moments. What I wish they had done is, because... this episode opens with the army showing up and saying, like, get out of bed! We're going to boot camp! This show could have been incredible if the army showed up and was like, ladies and gentlemen, England has gone to war. This is now a fortress. No one in, no one out. The life of the prince is most important. It was like, wait, what? And it's like, that's all I'm at liberty to say.
Or if they had done, like, a real evacuation. Like, done something really, like, dramatic and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's a boot camp challenge. Kelly wins.
Yeah. And, like, again, like, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kelly doesn't get anything for winning.
No, she does.
She does?
She gets a spa date with Harry, which you don't notice, because she wastes the entire spa date
complaining
talking
about
smack
Megan.
about Megan.
Oh, that's right. It's just them getting their shoulders rubbed.
Yeah, like, and I actually write that she falls into this classic dating show trap.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it in Mad House a little bit, too, where Eric falls in the trap if he spends so much time talking badly about Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly does this with Megan.
Yes.
Where she spends all of her quality time with this guy she supposedly really likes, talking poorly of another girl.
Mm-hmm.
So, this episode is almost entirely Kelly and Megan fighting. We don't see Kimberly, we don't see Karina, we don't see Rose.
Yes, I believe this is the first time where you turned to me and said, who's the blonde?
Yeah, because I forgot about Karina.
I was like, I don't know!
Because, like, I completely forget Karina exists at this point. Because she hasn't really done anything memorable. They haven't made her stand out in any way. They send home Jackie and Megan in this episode.
Yes, so what ends up...
another double elimination.
What ends up happening is they eliminate... They do the stupid thing where he calls two girls. Is this where he calls in Kelly? and gives her the crown suite?
No, Kimberly gets the crown suite in this one.
Okay.
He does ask each individual girl, like, he asks Kimberly what her opinion is because Kimberly stays out of the fight.
Yes. And then after spending the entire day with Megan, after already sending a girl home and giving the crown suite to someone else, Kingsley says, Sir would also like to speak with Megan. And Megan, who, they call fake, but like, there's some legit cute moments between the two of them where she says like, I know your name is actually Harry, but I've gotten so used to calling you Babe. Can I just call you Babe?
She's not a good villain because she's at worst a little vapid.
She's also not a good villain because she's one of the only entertaining parts of the show.
Yeah.
Because, like, she's a
little over the top. Like, she's a little crazy.
She yells at Kelly, you served me up on a silver platter, and grabs a silver platter from somewhere and slams it on the table. And then turns to the camera and says,
Is there a crack pipe going around? Because I haven't hit it.
Yeah, like, she kind of does get thrown under the bus in a way that, like, is really interesting because then, like, Kelly pretty much successfully gets Megan sent home.
Yeah, she sends her home for the reason that she's apparently unliked in the house and mean and fake. Like,
yeah.
So Kelly is entirely successful. So they just send her home, and, like, it's very shocking that they send her home because she's making such great TV. You kind of get that, like, New York feel from her from Flavor of Love, where it's like, they're going to keep her around to start problems.
Yeah, she's not even on the level of New York. She's at best pumpkin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, she's just, like, she's not really that bad of a person. Like, when she freaks out, you kind of get the thing of, like, everybody's been dogpiling on her all day. So she snaps a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the end of episode 6, the tease for the next episode, is that Rose might have figured it out. And this is another time the show squanders its own drama.
Yeah. Correction, the tease for the end is one of the girls might have figured it out. And we were both like, ooh, intrigue. And then the next episode starts with revealing who it is. It's like, uh-oh.
Well, the talking head is Rose being confused in the tease. Because I actually had that in my notes for the end of episode 6. Is like, I think the teacher's starting to, might figure it out. But they immediately blow that.
Yeah. What happens when Rose figures it out? Oh. Well, there could have been tension here.
And, Rose has a talking head about how she's not going to tell. And my biggest issue with how this goes down is in these dating shows, there is a power construct. Because you have one man and however many women. He has all the power in all of the relationships.
Right.
And it might have been really interesting to have a dating show where a competitor had legitimate leverage.
Yeah. And there looks to be interference here from producers. Because the thing that apparently tips her off is someone asks how old his brother is.
Yeah.
And he says he's 30. And someone says that's so old. And it's gross. But that's when she's like, that's not how old Prince William is. You know, those security people all seem fake. You know what? I'm starting to think this might not really be Harry. Which, first off, I have a sister. I don't know how old she is. Off the top of my head, at a party, I probably would be off a year.
Yeah. I tend to freeze my friend's siblings in amber at some point. My best friend, Michelle, her brother is 14.
Yeah. There's no way that he's 14.
He's in college.
Yeah.
But, he's 14.
Yeah, I get you. And then what she decides to do with this realization is...
Nothing.
She's like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to tell the girls because I don't want to ruin their fantasy. And I'm just going to try to get to know this guy and see how he is. Which is the least exciting thing that could happen. But I believe that a producer probably told her to do that to not ruin the show.
And then the only other plot in episode 7 is that Karina, who you may not remember because she's not like around very much, has a picture of her ex-boyfriend in her wallet.
Yeah.
And Kelly, who went from being sweet 2 episodes ago to being, I keep calling her Machiavelli Kelly.
Yeah.
Because she starts trying to be a chess master and trying to get Karina out.
Mm-hmm.
And then talking to Matt Harry about Karina. And he even kind of goes like, is this something you should be talking to me about? Or is this something she should be talking to me about?
Right. Can we go back to Rose just for a moment?
Yeah.
Because I want to get your opinion on a few things here. I believe that it's producer interference stopping her from telling the other girls. In terms of television, do you think it would have been better for her to reveal it and blow the show?
I don't think those are our 2 options. I think the option that would have made the best TV is she goes to Kingsley and like jigs up, I know. And she goes to like Harry, because they can apparently request an audience of Harry at pretty much any time. They regularly do.
Right.
And like, I would have loved to have seen the power change of Rose knows Harry's secret. What happens? Like, does she come down on him like a sack of bricks? Mm-hmm. Does she use it as leverage to get her way? Like, is she like, make me the crown sweet girl and I'll be quiet?
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, like, because the power dynamic in these dating shows is always extremely one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would be incredibly interesting if... Because unlike most dating shows, you have that this guy has a huge secret. Well, inevitably what happens when someone finds out his huge secret? And she's the only one who knows. She has a leverage.
Okay.
They could have shifted Rose into being a much more compelling antagonist, not necessarily villain, because I don't think she's in the wrong.
Right.
But if the goal is Harry convinces the girls he's Harry and finds true love, she could be a nice antagonist, and they could kind of like keep her around. I like the Selection book. It's a trash book series, but trash is what I do. I'm kind of explaining this to our listeners, and it's about a kingdom where I Want to Marry Harry is like real.
Right.
The prince finds his wife through essentially a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
And the protagonist, this girl named America, because it's a little ham-handed, she joins the show and is like, I'm so not into you, to the prince. Let me stay here for a while. Because apparently if you stay so long, you get a raise in your social status. Because they have a caste system.
Right.
Let me stay until I can raise my social status. And then I'll be your girl on the inside. I will let you know what's actually happening, who's actually here for you, who's actually here just to be queen.
Gotcha.
I would have liked to see Rose pivot into that position.
Okay.
But I don't think we necessarily had time to do that with 2 double eliminations.
Yeah, and there was only 4 people left at that point.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Even if she only planned on telling Harry, the moment it's said out loud, there's a risk of blowing the show.
Right.
Because if she goes up to Harry and says, yo, I know you're not really Harry. And Harry says, okay, you caught me. And she's like, I'd still like to stay. And he's like, okay. He's going to spend the rest of the time thinking she could tell these girls at any moment.
So the show could have something called suspense.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, to do that, there's a chance the show gets ruined. Because the whole point of the show is to build up to, you are the girl I picked, but I'm not really Harry. How do you feel? And you run the risk of losing that moment by having her in play, saying these things. And, like, there's a real chance of, like, she reveals it, these girls get pissed, they leave. But there's also the chance of, like, that's not true, my man wouldn't lie to me, that's Prince Harry. I think all those moments are worth risking how the show is planning to end.
Like, I think we could compare this a little bit to Superstar USA, in that they overinvest in one moment at the cost of the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Rose becomes really interesting for this one episode, because we know she knows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, because they actually have a moment with Kimberly. They each plan a date for him.
Right.
Kimberly plans bungee jumping because Harry is famously a thrill seeker.
Right.
And fake Harry kind of pees himself.
Yeah, he's not super thrilled about it. But in character, he has to jump off of this thing.
But it kind of would have kept up the mystery a little longer of which girl knows.
Right.
If they hadn't done that it was Rose immediately.
Yeah, like that was a test. Yeah, that would have been real good.
Kimberly has a solid reason to doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you could have still done the reveal that Rose knew.
Yeah.
But it would have created some actual suspense in this episode. Because, like, as the show goes on, there are fewer and fewer notes for each episode because they get less and less, like,
less
riveting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the only good part was when Rose, they call each girl in one by one, which is like, so they call in, I don't think anybody gets the crown suite because we're going into the finale.
Right.
But they call in Kelly, Karina, and Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks them each to stay. And then he comes out to where Rose is waiting alone.
Right.
And she confronts him.
Well, first he asks her to leave.
Right.
And then she's like, that's fine because of, the truth.
We both know.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what?
You're not really Prince Harry.
What?
And no, he's not surprised. He's just like, you're
nope,
right.
Sure not.
My name's Matt. And like, that's it. It's just like, okay.
Well, the part about this that was really fun is she gets up to leave.
Oh, yeah.
And he, like, tries to kind of go in for, like, a hug or a kiss, and Rose is gone.
And there is a bit of a good moment here in that Rose reveals, I knew, and I wanted to stay because I liked you for who you were. And so Matt had a person that knew that he wasn't Harry and wanted to be with him, which is the thing that he's trying to gain at the end of this show. And he sent her away. Which is a good, like, little bit of storytelling there. Of just like, I want X. X was there and I didn't see it. So, I appreciated that moment in the show. And then we get to our final three, and I get bored again.
Yeah, and Kelly is at this point just kind of like very dazzled by the Prince idea.
Yes, and
we've seen her fall off actually liking him.
Yes. It's definitely a skew, and this is something I believe to be true about this show. I feel like every time they did a talking head, they asked them the same two questions. Question 1, what do you like about this guy? Question 2, what do you like about the idea of being a princess? And I think if they just did that every time, they had enough footage for, I can make this person the hero or the villain.
Right. And they clearly make Kelly pivot. She's really likable and cute in a few episodes. And then after she gets Megan kicked off, she kind of becomes not so much evil, but like crazy.
Yeah,
like reality show crazy girl.
Yeah, because basically you kind of get the feeling that she was justified in not liking Megan, and then she saw that her tactics got rid of a threat, so she's like, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm the winner.
Yeah, she pivots to disliking Karina.
Yes. Now, just quick recap, we're at the final 3 here.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly has been in the Crown Suite twice.
Yeah, Kimberly doesn't really get involved in any drama, and has a couple of moments that are actually just, like, very sweet.
Yes, she talks about her New York accent.
Yeah, she talks about, like, oh, you have a nice accent, you don't want to pick mine up, otherwise you'll start asking for coffee.
Yes.
And she has a moment in the hot tub with him, where he's just really goofy.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a suave prince, he, like, tries to, like, do the, like, oh, I'll tell you a secret, I think you're really pretty.
Yes.
And, like, it's the most believable moment from him.
Yes, absolutely.
And by that point, you're pretty sure she's gonna win.
Yeah.
Because it's the only time we see him not be a suave prince and we see him be kind of a goof.
Yeah, we see him be kind of silly. Then there's Kelly, who has won the Crown Suite, and at this time, I'd like to play the audio of when Kelly is told that she's in the Crown Suite.
I'm going to have to ask you if you'd like to move into the Crown Suite.
Oh my god, No.
Don't fall off the chair. You're right.
Because she just laughs like a weird laugh for a long time and then almost falls out of a chair.
Yeah, and they make a whole big thing about how Kelly is the last one to kiss him.
Yes.
And then when she kisses him, it is a way too long take of her eating his face.
Yeah, it's a little gross.
Have you ever seen the gif of, it was one of those wedding reality shows on TLC, and their first kiss was at the end of the altar at their wedding, and they were two people who've never kissed before, and they're like 30, so they just are just eating faces because they don't know how to kiss each other.
Banging their faces and know each other. Get that audio.
And then it's her talking about how she's such a good kisser, and then Harry Matt picking a different girl as the best kisser.
Yes.
Which, by the way, that's such a gross reality show challenge.
I have to talk about this challenge. We accidentally skipped over this, but they do a toga party, and I think the theme is supposed to be it's a college party. And they do the thing where there's like a wrapper in between their lips, and they have to like transfer it to each other through suction.
That's called suck and blow.
Suck and blow, right.
If you've ever seen the movie Clueless.
This reminded me of the show The Onion did that was a parody of reality shows called Sex House, where they're just desperately trying to create a sexual situation because nothing interesting is happening.
I was going to say Burning Love.
Well, Burning Love, like everything, the stakes are real high, and every character is an exaggeration. In Sex House, the show's the exaggeration where it's just like, just have sex with each other for the show. Yeah.
It's rough. It is rough.
Yeah. So we have our final 3, and the 3 of them are believable winners. But Kimberly's been in the Crown Suite twice, so you should have figured it out by now.
But he still, like, makes a big show about how much he likes Karina and how we don't find out much emotionally about Karina.
True. And the Karina thing, Karina shows off exactly why this show doesn't work. Because there is one moment where the 3 girls each get a date in like one of the biggest spots in England.
Yeah.
And I believe they're on the Ferris wheel.
The London Eye, yes.
Yes. And Katrina says, have you ever been in love, or have you ever had your heart broken, or was your last ex, something rough? And Matt says yes, and he kind of tells this story. And in a talking head says,
She thinks this is coming from Prince Harry. But actually, it's a true story about one of my past relationships. I want to be able to tell them that I am this normal guy, Matt Hicks. This guy that they've seen, but he's been shrouded in you know, all the mystery and the flamboyance and the glitz and the glamour that's been going on.
And that reveals why this show doesn't work. Because in Joe Millionaire, it's, does this person love him for his money or his personality?
Right.
We never get to see Matt's actual personality because he's always doing an impression of someone else.
Yeah.
So you can't ever say, will they love me for me or will they love me because they think I'm Prince Harry? Because they haven't met you, dude.
Technically, this show is what's called rape by fraud.
Yeah.
Like, very technically, these women could sue. I mean, I'm sure there's waivers and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, like, they are... And I think that's why the first 4 episodes, they go so far out of the way to not say it, it's not Prince Harry, because then they can't be sued for fraud.
Mm-hmm. But then they just do it anyway.
And it's not very ceremonious. It's just one day at breakfast, Kingsley goes, "So is in fact Prince Harry," and then leaves. Mic drop.
Had they gone the whole series and just been like, my real name is Matt, then it would have been fine. But like, it doesn't make any sense as a show.
And I think the show could have benefited greatly from, because they make it a point that once you're eliminated, you don't see the other girls.
Right.
Because it's always like, oh, who comes back? Oh, Kimberly came back. We should have had a moment where they tell each girl as they get rid of her.
This, out of all of them, needed a reunion show at the end.
Yeah.
Because you need to know, like...
what their reactions were.
Not even what their reactions were, but like, if the whole point is it's a love story, you want to see them in love at the end. So it's like, it's 9 months later, is the couple still together? But, you know, I bet they couldn't even do that suspense, I bet.
No.
I bet if it was just like, it's 9 months later, they broke up, we'll tell you why. It's like, oh, come on, dude!
And then at the end of episode 7, they have a tease for, you know, there's a huge twist that not even Matt knows about. And that's the end of... They say a huge twist, and they tease it at the end of 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to point out at this time, the last 4 episodes only ran on video on demand. So nobody had to wait a week to watch this.
No, nobody had to.
Because these didn't run that way.
And then, once that ended, you and I started making jokes. Ooh, what could the twist be? Is Prince Harry going to show up?
Yeah, like... Well, our joke was that Prince Harry was going to show up and slap the crap out of Matt.
Yes, because Kimberly is actually married to Prince Harry now, right? She won that prize, and then that's who the royal wedding was with?
I mean, you could do like a great conspiracy theory thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because she doesn't look terribly unlike Meghan Markle. Like, they're, you know, similar hair.
Yeah.
Similar coloring.
If the two of them had stayed together, they could have then been couple strippers. and really pulled in that dime, or that pound.
Yeah. I did try to Twitter message Kimberly, but she did not respond.
Oh.
I tried. I do try to sometimes contact these people.
We've tried 100% of the time, and we've never gotten a reply.
Yeah, probably because when the name of your podcast is Stay Doomed.
Yeah, please. I'm really surprised we didn't get to talk to anyone from Superstar USA, because we were going to talk about how horrible of an experience they had to go through.
Yeah. So the show was... So the finale's boring. Like...
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of suspense. You kind of know he's going to... He picks Kimberly, like, halfway through, and they drop what the twist is before he actually picks a final girl.
Yeah, the beginning of the episode is like, okay, if she chooses to stay with him, they'll be given $250,000.
Yeah, they drop that immediately in the finale. And so it's kind of this, like, they go through the motions. He picks Kimberly. He tells her. She's kind of just like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's okay with it. And again, this is exactly what happens in Joe Millionaire, except it's less money. Because in Joe Millionaire, the ending is, we are going to make you each millionaires. And they're each given $1 million at the end. This, they're given $125,000, which I don't know how much that is in pounds.
And God knows how high that's taxed.
Yeah, like
it's not that much money. And so Kimberly's like, yeah, I still like him. They win. And that's kind of that fairy tale of, like, the girl proves she's pure of heart.
Yes.
And is rewarded with true love and material gain. It's very Cinderella, very, like...
Oh, and we forgot, Matt doesn't own a car. He has to bike to work. So at the end, they ride off together on a bicycle.
Yeah, but this time it's a tandem bicycle.
Yeah.
And, like, the servants who have not been characters.
Yeah, there's a line of servants we have never seen before.
And, again, I feel like that's something we super lost. Because at one point, one of the early challenges, they teach the girls how to make tea. Like, how to make a high tea. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if we had seen... It almost feel like a covert finishing school. And, like, each week the girls had to figure out, like, an upper class task.
Right.
Like, oh, you'll have to prepare high tea for 16 people. Mm-hmm. The challenges would have at least made some sense. There's not a great format to this show. The show only ran 8 episodes, and, like, 3 of them have challenges.
It's not even challenges. It's just, like, stuff happens. Because some of them make tea while some of them play cricket, and none of them win anything.
Yeah.
It's just a thing they have to do. Like, they have to clean the stables.
Yeah.
And, like, Kelly tries to do it the best because she loves Harry. And nothing comes of it.
Right. The show debuts May 20th, 2014, and is canceled by June 12th.
Okay.
So that's less than a month for those of you playing at home. And the buzz for this show...
Yeah.
...was abysmal. AV Club ran 2 articles the day it began and the day it was canceled. And the day it started, it was, I Want to Marry Harry is terrible, obviously. And then they ran the article 3 weeks later with, I Want to Marry Harry is canceled, obviously. And they point out it's charmless. Mm-hmm. It's not, there's just nothing great about it. Make no mistake, I Want to Marry Harry may be trash, but it is perfect trash. It's poisonous in concept and stellar in execution. A marvel constructed from shit. And I don't see that. Like, I don't see that it's a marvel. Because, like, it's not very entertaining.
It's a marvel made of shit makes a lot of sense. Because, like, who would spend a lot of time with shit to make a really big mountain?
Yeah.
It was just like, why are they doing this? What a waste! There's so much energy that could have been put into other things. Now, but I have to ask you this. You are English.
Yeah. Yes.
I am not. And one of the girls on here says something like, Prince Harry, Harry Potter, whatever, I'm just here to meet a guy. And I will admit that if I were to run into Prince Harry, before seeing the show, I probably wouldn't recognize him. Like, I didn't know what Prince Harry looked like before we started this show. Is the purpose of this show to make fun of Americans in how little they know about English culture?
I mean, I think that's the reason they definitely don't use English girls.
Right.
Is because Harry was, especially at that point in history, in 2014, Harry was a tabloid darling.
Right.
He was constantly in trouble. Like, I don't think it's necessarily to make fun of Americans, but they had to be Americans because anyone English would have memorized his face the same way. Like, if you sent 12 American girls to a mansion and then were like, this is Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, someone would see through it.
Yeah, like, you'd be like, that's not Ryan Reynolds.
Which, it makes me almost wish what they had done was gotten 12 women who knew even less about Prince Harry. Because the helicopter lands, and they squint and they go, I think that's Prince Harry. It would have been even better to have 12 women who's like, the date is Harry, what's Harry's last name?
Harry Windsor, Prince of Wales.
Just Harry Windsor. Blank stare. He's the Prince of Wales. Oh. And just have them not know anything about Prince Harry, and then have Matt screw up his story all the time, and have the girls be too dumb to catch it. Then we could at least go, they should have caught on by now.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't necessarily know how many girls would necessarily, like, how many Americans in general would necessarily be able to rattle off their last name immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a dweeb, so I think it would have been more interesting if you had actually been dating Harry Potter, who would have been the appropriate age. Oh my god, I want to watch a wizard dating show. Could you imagine that? Like, you're at Hogwarts.
God, okay.
The challenges are like riding a broomstick and making an invisibility. It could be like Ink Master when they have to like blend into their surroundings. When they have to body paint the girl, it's like the invisibility cloak challenge.
Laura, literally anything would be better than this show was. Do you have any more information about what happened between these two people? Did they date?
They did not necessarily stay together long term, but mostly because of the distance. But she gave an interview.
Oh, that's right. She lives in America.
But they...
What? Of course! You just agreed to be in a relationship with someone who lives an ocean away.
She does say in a 2017 interview, they still speak frequently and FaceTime every couple weeks.
That's nice.
So they actually do stay friends. She stops being a social... She apparently never really was a social worker. She, like, worked with social workers. But reality shows don't really get the nuances of people's jobs, and they kind of boil them down to a thing they think people will understand.
Okay.
So, apparently, during production of the show, producers would loudly stage conversations outside the girls' bedroom window about how Buckingham Palace was getting really mad that, you know, just because the royal family was trying to update, the Queen didn't approve of it.
Gotcha.
So they were planting these really crazy conversations to gaslight contestants.
What a great challenge they could have done of this week. You're meeting Harry's mom.
Oh my god.
You're meeting Sir's mother.
Oh my god.
This show is so fixable. Just have stuff happen.
I mean, you understand Sir's mother died 17 years before this show, right?
No, I don't. I thought they're the Queen of England.
Oh my god. Harry's mother's Princess Diana.
Oh.
So yeah, you could have solved a lot of things by saying you're going to meet Sir's mother because she's been dead for 17 years when this happens.
Oh. I thought it'd be funny.
Man, babe, yeah, you're right.
I don't know anything about these people. That's the point I'm making. Like, they went through all this trouble to make sure we all knew all this stuff about Prince Harry. But the average American doesn't know this.
Most of them know Diana was his mother.
I didn't know that.
I like to drop at least one bombshell on Noah every podcast. I didn't expect it to be this very well-known fact. And something that I found out was common with dating shows, but I didn't know it, so I'm assuming that a lot of our listeners don't necessarily know this. The women were all sequestered for a week in separate hotel rooms. No TV, no reading material, no nothing. They'd send somebody around a couple times a day to make sure they weren't, like, going full yellow wallpaper crazy.
Right.
And in an interview with Kimberly, she said, like, I started memorizing Bible passages for something to do.
Right. And that's a reality show trick, is basically they want to have these girls have nothing to think about other than this guy. This way, like, by the time that the show starts, they're already obsessed with him.
Yeah, and I did watch I read a BuzzFeed tweet amalgamation, because that's BuzzFeed for you, of reactions to I Want to Marry Harry, and people thought it was ridiculous. Everybody gets upset when one of the girls yells another oldie at another 25-year-old. And nobody particularly likes it. God, it's just not very good. Mm-hmm. It's just not very good.
Yes.
So stay tuned. This is an obvious one. You literally can't do this show again.
Yeah.
This was only ever, like so many of the trick reality shows, this could only ever have run one season.
Yeah, like... I mean, there's a part of me that thinks you could do it in another country. But... why bother?
I don't know that there's another country that has...
Canada?
I mean, I don't think there's another country that has a young monarch who's even remotely well-known in America.
No, I'm saying you get Harry again. Nobody watched this show.
Yeah, that's true.
They could do it again.
This tweet amalgamation, the most interesting thing is the people congratulating Leah, who is the girl who gets kicked off in the first episode.
Goodbye.
Oh no, you've been asked to go home. Now you will never marry a poor English guy who lies to you about who he is. At Single Steve.
Yeah. It's this there's nothing good about the show. It's not a fun train wreck. It's not a fun hate watch. It is nothing happening for hours.
Yeah, this is a hardcore gotta stay doomed. Because it's just it's very slow. It picks up and is almost actually even a little cute in some places in the finale. There's some nice moments in the finale, but they are not nice enough to watch the show for 6 hours beforehand. Mm-hmm. This is a stay doomed. Yeah. There is no way to keep this show up.
The trick dating show is just always going to be gross.
I mean, it's gonna be technically fraud every time. Mm-hmm. It's just... At least with Joe Millionaire, you got to know the person. With this, you don't even get to know the real... Because he's trying to keep his facts straight.
Yeah, you have no reason to like Matt. You have really no reason to like these girls, because you don't learn anything about them other than the fact that they think they're dating Harry. Like, if you could tell me 2 facts about any girl, other than their name and their occupation, because it was on screen, I'd be amazed.
It's mostly Rose.
Yeah.
Because Rose
she was in a relationship, and she's not anymore.
And she's a preschool teacher.
Yes. But
she, and she was interesting, and then they got rid of her. And that seemed to be what happens every time someone got interesting, they got rid of her.
Yeah.
So this is a stay doomed to go back. It's just...
Yeah, it's not worth your time.
Yeah, we're,
burying it back up.
Yeah, we're burying that.
Covering it back up with dirt. I'm done with this.
It's just bad. Next week, we're wrapping up a reality month.
Yeah, let's get the hell out of this plot.
Yeah, this has been...
Because it turns out this has all been miserable.
Yeah, that's because we didn't watch Daisy of Love, which is incredible. Next week, we will be completing Reality Month with the murder mystery reality show, Who Done It?
I'm pumped for this. This is the first one that we're doing that I actually don't know anything about.
This one's very high concept.
Yeah.
It's every week when a contestant is thrown off, they are murdered.
Yes, death.
So it's it's kind of an and then there were none. And
right.
Eventually, but the killer is one of the contestants.
Yes. I've always said reality shows need more Agatha Christie. So I'm glad that we're getting into this one.
Yeah, so this one's, you're going to eventually be down to 2 people, the killer and the winner, good guy detective.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I'm really excited about it.
Stay Harry. I want to marry Harry. I hate the show. End the show, Laura. I don't want to talk about the show anymore. I hated this. It was a miserable experience.
Well, as per usual, if you have any suggestions for shows we have not yet done and you would like to see us do, you can feel free to email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com. We're going to be putting up a wish list on Facebook soon of shows we have been unable to find. And if you happen to know how we could come across one of those shows, please let us know. Follow us on Facebook at Stay Doomed and Twitter at Stay Doomed. And until next time, I'm going to have to ask you to stay doomed. We're done.
God.
I was doing a bit. Stay doomed.